Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome again to the Wednesday edition of Survive in Advance. I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Risley. Our other co-host, generally, Mike Goodpaster, is still on assignment for us, working on a couple of the projects that we'll bring to you later on. So we have a pinch-hitting co-host for the week, and he's done an outstanding job so far. I want to welcome Cole Hanna. He's the beat writer for us, NBA beat writer for The Grueling Truth, and also covers IU basketball extensively, attending the games as a media credentialed member, and does that, and is working on some other projects for us too. So, Cole, welcome Wednesday. How you doing? Hump day.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Weather's actually good out, despite, the weather telling us all week it was going to be rainy out, and it's nice and sunny, so I'm doing pretty good.
That's one of the two greatest jobs in the world. Is either being a baseball player, where if you bat 300, you're automatically in the Hall of Fame. Think about it.
Yeah.
That means you fail 7 out of 10 times. You still make, if you bat consistently 300 for your career, you're most likely going to be in the Hall of Fame. But we know how hard it is. So all the baseball fans that listen to us, I'm not knocking it. I guess hitting a baseball is one of the very hardest things to do in sports. I've never played baseball at that level, but I've heard that colloquialism thrown out there before. The second is being a weather person, especially in Indiana. I mean, it's like, I know when I lived there for the better part of 50 years, it was amazing. I mean, they would tell you something, and they predict rain all week, and it's sunny and 75 every day of the week.
They predicted rain pretty much all week this week, and I don't think it's really rained much at all. Maybe a 10-minute window where it's rained once all week, but that's pretty much all we've gotten.
Yeah, I know back in 1984 when I got married, my wife and I got married in Hawaii, and we flew over there and did a really nice Hawaiian wedding over there. And I remember watching the local TV and trying to get the news, what was going on and things. And basically the person at that point in time that really did the weather was the sports guy. He would just come on before he did a sports report, and he would say, well, here's the weather for Honolulu today. It's going to be 80 degrees. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be a little breezy off the ocean. Around 3 or 4 o'clock, you might get some pineapple juice. It might rain or it might not, but by 4:30, everything will be dry, and we'll do it all over again the next day.
Yeah.
That was the weather. Now I live in Los Angeles. It's kind of the same out here. It's like we've had probably more rain this year, and I bet we've had 10 days of rain, and they're calling that a monsoon season in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But it's generally sunny. You don't see a cloud all day. And it's usually, right now it's in the mid-70s, going to crank up into the 80s, and then we'll get into this period around July and August in September where it just gets brutally hot out here. But it's sunny and something every day out here. So, but that's Indiana.
Yeah.
All right. So in keeping in tune with what we've been kind of talking about all week is the NBA, especially given since Cole is a beat writer and knows everything in the world about the NBA. And I actually have learned a lot. This is the first year, really since Magic and Bird or maybe Jordan, that I've really paid any attention and watched the NBA. And, the biggest thing for me was I had to learn the players. I mean, I had not followed it so much that I really didn't even know who was playing in the NBA. But after having spent a lot of exhaustive time watching games and getting to know teams and the makeup of teams, actually the NBA's got a pretty good product going right now. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think – there's been a lot of discussion about people always want to compare across eras between the NBA and to talk about the golden days. But, for the most part, I think the interest in the NBA is pretty much at an all-time high. I mean, you can see that reflected in the salary cap where it just continues to explode year after year, which is, a reflection on the amount of money the NBA is gathering now. Viewership's at an all-time high for the most part. I think there's a lot of star players that people like to pay attention to. So, I think the NBA is flourishing right now. They're really kind of exploding onto the scene more or less. And, I know people like to compare across eras and maybe say, I don't like this new style of basketball or whatever, but the bottom line is people are watching it.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. And what I'm seeing from my perspective is a throwback to probably the Bird-Johnson era to some degree, the early to mid-'80s to the late 80s, kind of before Jordan and the Bulls started to take over, and the Pistons made a couple runs there for a while. But in that era, Showtime was a great team, and the Celtic Magic was a great team. It wasn't just all Bird and Johnson. Those guys were superstars that played like a team. And there was no selfishness really on either one of those two basketball teams. Neither Bird nor Johnson cared if they scored the bucket. They just wanted to make sure somebody got a bucket. And, you're talking about Dennis Johnson, Kevin McHale, Bill Walton from time to time, Jerry Ceasing from time to time. I mean, now you can go on down the list of Cornbread Maxwell. Then you look over at the Lakers. You got Worthy. You got Jabbar. You got Byron Scott. You got Magic. You got Michael Cooper. You got Rambis. And you had great teams. And I think what's happened is you got in that transition where kind of in the Jordan era and a little bit after that when Jordan kind of retired and then LeBron comes on, it became about the individual players. And we were lauding the great players more than we were lauding the great teams is how I see it. But now I think that we've got back into that mentality of we like to see great teams out there playing, and we like to see teams play as great teams. I've always said a high-performing team will virtually always beat a team of high performers. And think about what I said. A high-performing team will virtually always beat a team of high performers. Now, high performers doesn't mean you're a high-performing team. It means you have a bunch of individuals who have central goals more germane to themselves that are great players, but they play as individuals. You have a high-performing team. You have a common goal and plays together to use their talents to win a championship. So I think we've got back into that era of professional basketball. I think it's a great thing. What do you think? I think Toronto being in the NBA championships is wonderful for the NBA. A lot of people think, not Canada, but I think it's a wonderful thing for Toronto to make the NBA Finals. It spreads the acreage out of the NBA, brings Canada in the fold a lot more fans for the game, and we're seeing some great game and great talent out of the Toronto Raptors. You think it's a good thing? Of course you do.
Yeah, I mean, from a pure fan standpoint, I think it's ultimately a good thing. Obviously, I mean, it's Toronto's first appearance in the finals, so you like to see a team that's never been there. Even the way they got there, them beating Milwaukee 4 straight times and kind of pulling off an upset I don't think many people saw coming was exciting, and people like an underdog, and obviously Toronto was very much an underdog. The NBA might tell you a little bit different because from what I've been reading, the fact that Toronto is in Canada might hurt them a little bit financially, but
right. It's not one of the big markets. Yeah. It's a smaller market for sure. Yeah. I think if the NBA had their way, they'd want Los Angeles and the Knicks in the finals of every final. And maybe throw in a Chicago or a Houston occasionally. Yeah. But they would want to keep it to their television markets where they can sell the most advertising, claim the highest dollar. And, I think that, but I don't know that Toronto's an anomaly, really. I think they've got we'll talk about the Supermax contracts coming up here, and that's going to be a topic for the day. But if they can keep their players, I think Toronto's a team that's going to be reckoned with for a few years. I don't think they're a one-hit wonder right now, if they can keep their players. Well,
certainly, Kawhi Leonard's going to make or break that team. I mean, that's obviously the big guy who's going to be a free agent. I saw the betting odds, I think, just came out and where he was going, right? And I think the Clippers out in L.A. were the favorite, I believe, over Toronto as far as where he's going to go. That's going to be a big thing. Can they keep him in Toronto? He's probably, in my mind, he's been the single most dominant player, through these NBA playoffs so far.
I don't know, Cole. If somebody offered me a penthouse condo at the top of a building in Toronto and all the free food to stock it for the year, I think I could play basketball in Toronto for a
year. You think so, but, man, the rumor always was. Now, I'm not going to say Toronto can't change his mind, but the rumor coming into the season was always he wanted to go to L.A. Weirdly enough, he didn't want to play with LeBron was the same rumor, was he wanted to go to the Clippers, not the Lakers, but that he wanted to go to L.A. He comes to Toronto. Can they, they go to the finals. Can that change his mind? Does he believe he can win an NBA Finals there? We'll see what, performance they put on in the finals against Golden State. We'll see, if Golden State breaks up, does that kind of change the way teams think and how they build their teams? There's a lot of unknowns, I think, right now. I think Kawhi Leonard's one of the big pieces where a lot of teams will be looking to see what he does.
Yeah, and you know, and the Clippers are an up-and-coming basketball club. I mean, you know, Doc Rivers has turned that team around a little bit. He's rid of himself of players that he wasn't willing to coach. He's brought in players that he likes to coach that are going to fit his style. And the Clippers, you know, totally outplayed the Lakers. But the thing is, they'll never get the respect of the Lakers in Los Angeles because the Lakers are the Lakers. Because Jack Nicholson goes to Lakers games, and Beyonce and Jay-Z go to Lakers games. And, you know, the B celebrities go to the Celtics games. Or the Celtics, the Clippers games.
Clippers.
They get the Kardashians. Yeah, they get the Kardashians. So, but in terms of Golden State, the owners, Pete and Joe, Peter Gruber and Joe, and I'm not even going to try and touch his last name. They vowed that they're going to keep Clay and Durant. They said we'll spend what we need to spend to keep those guys in Golden State. And of course, Steph is already locked into a Supermax contract. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. And Durant, and we'll explain why, but Durant's not eligible. Clay is not eligible because he did not make an all-star team. We'll get all that when we get into this. So, let's just get into that because right after the playoffs, everything starts to change. I mean, we're going to revel in the Warriors-Raptors battle, and then almost immediately we get into the draft where we're going to see where a lot of this young college talent is going to come out of. And then we're going to get into free agent market for a period of time. And that's when you're going to see players shift. I know there's big talk that LeBron wants Kyrie Irving and the Lakers big time. And, again, I don't know. I thought there was issues between Kyrie and LeBron in Cleveland. That's why he left Cleveland. But I don't really remember that. Maybe you can enlighten us on that. Did they have issues in Cleveland?
Yeah, there were issues between those two in Cleveland. How deep those issues were, I think, is a little up for debate. You know, some people just said, you know, Kyrie wanted to be the star, and LeBron, obviously, anytime you play with LeBron, that's, you know, you're not going to be the star. It's going to be LeBron. He's going to be the center of attention. But I think things kind of changed between those two this season when Kyrie mid-season supposedly called LeBron up and just apologized that he was kind of being selfish and, you know, he wanted to be the star and he probably didn't handle it the right way. So that could have patched things up with LeBron, and now they want to get back together. Who knows? I've heard that. I've heard Kyrie wants to go to New York. I mean, there's all sorts of rumors flying around. I think most people are thinking Kyrie is for sure out of Boston, but where he goes remains to be seen.
Yeah, and yes, before we get into it, are we finding out that LeBron isn't now worth the money he's being paid, or do you think he still is worth that money that he's being paid to the Laker organization?
Well, it's tough. Did he live up to that contract this season? No, I don't think he did. Would I have paid him? Like, if you asked me a year ago, would you give LeBron that contract? I think if you're LA, you've been trying to get star players for years now, and you can't get one. LeBron comes to you and says he wants to play there. You give him what he wants, right? I mean, there's no doubt about that. But did he live up to it? No, I don't think so. And the issue with it is now it's not just he didn't live up to it this past season, and maybe it was frustration with the team around him. Maybe he wasn't completely focused. But he's going to be 35 next year. So is he going to get better from this point, or is he going to start to slow down here?
Yeah.
Age catches up with everyone. Yeah, I mean, I know he's
this is the first year he's missed regular season games, I think. He's pretty well played, and all season. He's, he's played in the NBA, since he was, 18 years old? He's 35? So he's probably got, 16 to 17 years in the NBA.
Yeah,
that
got
takes
a
a toll on your body.
Yeah. No,
but here's a question for you about LeBron. Over Klay Thompson, was he worthy of a third-team All-NBA team? I don't think he was. LeBron. I look at Klay Thompson and what he did for the Warriors, and then I look at LeBron, and he missed a good 30 games, I think, or something like that. So he missed a big chunk of the season. And that team did not elevate itself to any degree. I mean, they were never really in the playoff hunt. We kept hoping they'd get there, but they never got there. So was LeBron worthy of a nod to the All-NBA third team, or was that he's still our marquee player?
It's a tough discussion to have because statistically, you'll say yes. Statistically, he was one of the best players.
Cole.
I know it's not all statistics.
This is the grueling truth.
But and I'll counter that. To me, with Klay Thompson, it's not, first off with him, it's not just offense. It's what he brings to you in the defensive end of the floor. And I think what they look at all NBA teams is how flashy are your offensive stats is 90% of what puts you on those teams. And I think that's wrong. I don't think it's how it should be, but it's unfortunately how it works out. I think Klay Thompson is an elite-level defensive player. And not only that, his team has been to 5 straight NBA finals.
Right.
There's been a lot of teams. He plays his role. He sacrifices when he needs to.
Right.
There's been a lot of teams that have had a couple All-NBA guys on their roster. They don't all go to 5 straight NBA finals. Golden State has a team where Klay Thompson is easily an All-NBA level player. I think he was on a much more successful team than LeBron.
He made more contributions.
Significantly more contributions.
I think what you're saying is Klay Thompson's the kind of kid, if you put him on the Charlotte Hornets, he probably would average 25 to 30 points a game and lead that team.
If he was on a bad team, his stats would have been.
Or if he's on the Pacers, if he came to the Pacers,
exactly. Yeah,
he would probably average. Well, you've got Oladipo there, but I'm sure he and Oladipo would dominate the offense for the Pacers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, one of the two would be scoring 30, and the other would be having mid-20s virtually every night. So I think the fact that Klay Thompson's playing with Kevin Durant, with Steph Curry, with the rest of the guys on that team, and playing on a team that has one common goal, and that's to win a championship, I think your assessment of individual efforts or individual statistics take precedent over contributions to a team. I don't think that LeBron should have been on any NBA team this year, and I think Klay Thompson should have been there, and that's my opinion.
Well, yeah, and again, to carry off kind of what you were mentioning here, just with LeBron, he missed almost 30 games. I mean, almost half the season was missed. Again, individually, statistically, LeBron had a good year. It didn't translate to success. Klay Thompson maybe didn't have as flashy as a statistical year, but he played on a great team. His contributions directly contributed to success, and he did it while being healthy. He only missed a handful of games. LeBron misses almost half the year. I would have put Klay Thompson.
Yeah, a third of the season easily. Yeah, easily a third of the season. And no indication that this might not become a regular thing with him.
Yeah.
I still think LeBron plays the game because he loves the game, and I still think he is the biggest marquee player in the NBA, but he is 35 years old, has played 15 to 17 years. I don't know when he entered it, if he entered it 18 or 17 or 19. I don't know exactly how old it is when he entered, but, he's in that 15 to 17-year range of playing. And his body is just going to wear down. Trust me, I walk my dogs 3 miles a day, and I'm 60. My body takes a beating.
Yeah.
Oh, well. All right, well, this leads us into we'll close out with this discussion, and I'm going to let you kind of take the lead on this. And one of the pitfalls that starts happening. The last question I had before I get there, which will lead us right into the conversation. Let me get a little conspiracy theory going on here. Is there any thought that, there's a lot of subversive crap that goes on in the offices of these owners. If you don't think that there was collusion with Colin Kaepernick about keeping that kid from playing in the NFL, they can say there was no collusion, but that's like thinking that Lee Harvey Oswald solely killed John Kennedy. His rifle wasn't that good, and he wasn't that good of a marksman. But, is there a conspiracy theory there that a guy like Klay Thompson was kept off of the NBA team so they wouldn't have to pay him the Supermax contract? Or am I just making conspiracy theories?
I don't think so, because if I'm the other NBA owners, I would probably want him to make it, purely because if you want Golden State to break up, right, I think for the most part people expect one of Durant, one of Klay Thompson are going to go back. I don't think both of those guys were going to leave. And if you make Klay Thompson an All-NBA guy so he qualifies for the Supermax contract, that's 70% then of their cap, because Steph Curry and then Klay Thompson, that would be hamstringing them from a cap perspective for a lot of years. Now they don't have that. They don't have to pay Klay Thompson as much money if they want to bring him back. I think financially it helps them. Now, ultimately, if Klay Thompson chooses to leave and Durant both choose to leave, maybe that changes things. Maybe you look at it and say, hey, okay, maybe that's why they try to keep him off the All-NBA team. So maybe that perspective, but I think most people expect one of those guys is going to go back. Klay Thompson, in particular, hasn't been very vocal about wanting to leave. He's been very vocal about being happy in Golden State. He likes his role in Golden State. He likes the team, likes the atmosphere. So I think most people expect him to go back, and not having to pay that Supermax contract helps them out financially. But if he leaves, then maybe there's some collusion that they wanted him to leave. Who knows?
Well, yeah, and then you've got Kevin Durant sitting there, who's not eligible, will never be eligible for a Supermax contract, and you'll explain why he won't he'll never be eligible for the Supermax contract. But he's going to command big bucks. I mean, he's not going to be. He wants to be the most expensive player in the NBA, and right now it's looking like it's going to be Anthony Davis. But Kevin Durant's going to sit there and go, I'm KD. I am the most expensive player in the NBA. That's his ego.
Yeah.
So, Supermax or not, if they want to keep that team intact, they've got to re-sign Klay Thompson, and they're going to have because Durant's a free agent, isn't he? He's just not eligible for the Supermax.
He's a free agent, so he can sign.
So he can sign for whatever. Well, Klay Thompson can sign for whatever he wants to too, because you're not obligated to take the Supermax contract. Again, let me just lead you into that. So, but there's a lot of pitfalls right there. The Warriors are in trouble financially.
Yeah.
These free agency now with all these superstar players that they built for 5 straight years of going to the NBA Finals, they're going to pay the pauper right now. And I don't know if they've got the money to do that. Or they have the money. I'm sure both these guys are tech geniuses, and they're probably billionaires. But the NBA says, no, we don't care how much money you guys. This is how much money you can spend.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they have enough room when they've already got, like I said, Curry on a Supermax. So let's lead into that. Why don't you go ahead and explain, because this is the first of the 3 evils. First, you've got the Supermax people you got to deal with, which you're dealing with right now. Then you've got the draft people you got to deal with. And then following that up, you're going to have free agency.
Yeah.
So the guys that can be offered Supermax, a lot of them I might just say, hey, I'm just going to wait for free agency and see what I get. Maybe I can get more. So why don't you explain to people what is the Supermax contract, who's eligible for it, how does it come into play, and what is its purpose, and what does it do?
So essentially, what a Supermax contract is, it was originally designed to help teams keep their star players, more or less. It was to help because, people had been complaining about these super teams when Durant goes to Golden State and leaves a small market in Oklahoma City. You had LaMarcus Aldridge, who went out of Portland, Paul George out of Indiana. So the NBA's answer to this was, let's give this Supermax contract, which helps guys retain their own free agents. And it's a huge number. It allows a guy to take up, 35% of the salary cap. And then the NBA, when the salary cap just continues to explode year after year, you can obviously imagine how much money that exactly is. I believe Giannis, who's eligible, is going to be the biggest contract ever, like $250 million contract or something around that number. And Anthony Davis is commanding more money than that. Yeah, exactly. So the numbers are just going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger on this contract. I think John Wall was the big one who signed something worth, around $38-39 million a year.
It's really been kind of I won't say a bust for the Wizards, but when you talk about the value of the Supermax contract, to sign John Wall to that kind of money, that just took the Wizards out of contention.
Yeah, and honestly, the Supermax contract has really not been very effective at its design purpose, right? Like a lot of guys have chosen that they want to win over taking this Supermax contract. Most guys have really valued winning over this, extra. Because for the most part, when you think about the guys that are eligible for Supermax contracts, these aren't the guys that need that extra $30 million or however much they get, right? These are the guys
you can never have too much money.
No, but for the most part, these guys they're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. Probably all of them have significant, money-making opportunities outside of basketball.
Outside, right.
Yeah. So, so it really only 4 players, I think, have actually signed Supermax contracts. Steph Curry, James Harden, Westbrook, and John Wall to date, I believe.
Yeah, and, you said that. Ross just bought his new car from Russell Westbrook Chrysler Dodge.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
There you go. I said, did you meet Russell Westbrook? I said, hell no. I don't think but yeah, he has a Chrysler Jeep Dodge dealership right here in Los Angeles, and Ross, they just didn't go there because of Russell Westbrook, but that happened to be the place that had the best deal for what he wanted, and he has a Russell Westbrook Dodge on his new Dodge Challenger GT, which is a rocket ship, which is just not what you need when you're driving on the 405 at 5 miles an hour.
Yeah, no.
Oh, well. So who are the players right now that have Supermax contracts? There's 4 of them, correct?
Yeah. So Steph Curry, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and John Wall are the 4.
And 3 of those 4 are probably worth the money.
Yeah, I would say, Curry and Harden 100%. Westbrook on an individual level is worth it. I look at Oklahoma City and say, okay, they got bounced in the first round this year. They have all that money tied up in Westbrook. They have all that money tied up in Paul George. How is this team going to get better, right? I mean, that's the argument with Oklahoma City. Have they peaked as a first and second round team at most? But, yeah, I mean, on an individual level, Westbrook's obviously put up MVP caliber numbers, depending on the year. But in certain, John Wall has been a bust. I think we can all agree on that.
Time.
Yeah.
$39 million. That's astronomically crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for a player of that caliber, that's just crazy.
Well, especially for a team that hasn't had a lot of success with him. It's not like he's been leading them to Eastern Conference Finals appearances. It's complete bust, I think.
All right. Well, why don't you explain to everybody what is the eligibility to be offered a Supermax contract? What do you have? What criteria? Because there's very rigid criteria to meeting a Supermax contract. So why don't you explain all the criteria? I mean, I can do it, but I'm kind of letting you talk. I'm getting tired of talking.
Yeah.
Which could Astral fry me on anyway for talking too much.
Essentially, the easiest way to do it is essentially you either need to draft the player or you need to acquire the player while he's on his rookie contract. There are ways around that for the most part, but they're very, very difficult to get around those 2 requirements because essentially what you have to do to sign the guy is you need to sign him, depending on how many years he has left on his contract, is when you can start signing him to Supermax deals. But essentially he has to play with that team for at least 6 seasons. Now, if you get a guy that's not on their Supermax contract, again, like Kevin Durant, who they didn't get him as a rookie, they didn't get him when he was on his rookie contract, you'd be talking about paying that guy a Supermax contract if he went back to Golden State, stayed 3 more years when he's 34 or 35. It's just not something that anyone's going to want to do. No one's going to give him that money as a Supermax player. He, in theory, could become eligible, but he's never going to get that money at 35.
How does Kevin Durant become eligible?
So, essentially, what he would have to do is re-sign with Golden State. He would, I guess, essentially take a shorter contract, right, to go back to Golden State. So, essentially, a 3-year deal because he's been with Golden State 3 years. He would have to stay another 3 years at Golden State. That would put him at age 34, 35, and then he would be eligible.
Paying him 45, $50 million a year.
Yeah, which is obviously no one's going to do that for a 34-year-old Kevin Durant. For all intents and purposes.
Well, don't say nobody because the Yankees did it with A-Rod. I think they're still paying A-Rod $25 million a year.
I think the Warriors. I'll give the Warriors credit. I think they're a smart team. I don't think they build a team like this without being somewhat smart. So I'll assume they're smart enough to not do that. But yeah, you're true. We've seen some stupider things probably, but obviously, and that would be Kevin Durant, taking a shorter deal, which who knows? Because if he falls off later in his career, maybe he wanted the 5-year deal, right, where he gets more money long term. So obviously, that would be taking a big risk on Durant's part because you're banking on yourself into your mid-30s. Which, similar to what LeBron did this season, and who knows how well that's going to work out for him once these 3 years are up. But, so though Durant could, in theory, become eligible, it's not going to be something that's realistic for him. But, for the most part, if you have a guy who's been with your team for a total of 6 seasons and he has 2 years left on his contract, you can give him a 4-year Supermax deal. It's that same situation. If he only has 1 year left, you can give him a 5-year Supermax deal, which, as we talked about, is 35% of the salary cap, and it can go up about the money value can go up 8% each year. So
Yeah, and right now, to show you the restrictedness of this Supermax deal, the players who would have been eligible but for various reasons were not include Klay Thompson and Andre Drummond, correct?
Was Drummond one of them that he could be? I may have missed that one.
I had him written down in my research, so if I had him written down.
The names that pop up to me off the top of my head was so Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard made it and is eligible. Kemba Walker made it and was eligible.
He's eligible.
Drummond could have. Yeah. Did he?
Yeah. I have him written down, so therefore I'm Brady. Who's the Brady for the Wizards?
Who's who now?
I have a name written down. I scribbled the last name. I got to look up the Wizards roster. They had a player who was on the list. Brady?
I would think the only guy I could think of would be Bradley Beal. That's like their other.
Bradley Beal, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I write. Yeah, Bradley Beal. There, now it looks like Bradley Beal. Now that you said that, yeah. I write so fast, so I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So, but Bradley Beal did not make it either. So then the four players who now are eligible for the Supermax deal. Go ahead and who they are. Who are the four players that are eligible then?
Yeah, so it's going to be so Davis. The one that was eligible this season going in was I forget, was it Anthony Davis was eligible?
Anthony Davis was already eligible.
Already eligible. Damian Lillard, I know, became eligible. Kemba Walker, I know, became eligible.
Right.
I know Rudy Gobert became eligible in 2020 for his Supermax deal. Is there anyone
he's not eligible there? He's not eligible. You're missing Gianni. You're missing Gianni, the biggest player of all.
In 2020 as well, yeah. So Giannis and Gobert are both.
So Giannis is not eligible this year. Next year.
Him and Gobert are both not this year, but next year.
All right. So there's only three players that it really affects.
Yeah.
But then you look at Klay Walker, and while he's not going to get a Supermax, he's going to demand a big contract from Golden State. They want to keep him. So you could say the fact that the only thing he didn't do is make either an All-NBA defensive player of the year or MVP or one of the All-NBA teams, one of the three, that's not going to matter. He's still going to say, I'm still Klay Thompson. I still contribute to this basketball team, and we put this team in the finals 5 years. You're going to pay me whether I have a Supermax deal or not. That's probably going to happen.
Certainly Klay Thompson is more than worthy of a max contract. Obviously, he's not going to get the Supermax, but, I would expect Golden State, the total dollar amount I would think would not really be negotiable. I mean, I think he wants a max contract, and he deserves a max contract.
Yeah, he needs, I mean, if John Wall's getting it, he deserves it. That's for sure. Okay, now the impact on the teams financially. How many players are you allowed to have on Supermax contracts per team?
I don't know if there's a hard limit. Two. Two. Just because it's 35%. I don't know if they say like you can't. Obviously, you could only realistically have two. I don't know if you could.
The NBA has a rule that says you're only allowed to have two players under Supermax contract.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, but that steps up and that becomes 70% of your cap money. I mean, how are you going to build a team around that when 70% of your money is going to two players?
Well, that's exactly the point. Is it's nearly impossible. The only way you can do that, I would think, that's realistically, is you're either going to have two guys who you think are going to be good enough to lead you, to an NBA Finals appearance with not great players around them, or you're going to get these, maybe veteran players who are late in their career and who will take these big pay cuts to come play with you. Certainly it's nearly impossible. I mean, like you said, 70% of your salary cap is a massive amount of money. I mean, that's a huge investment. And I think for the most part, it's like what you talked about earlier in the show. The NBA is kind of transitioning to a more team-based game, right? I mean, Golden State, for as many stars as they have, it's a team game. It's not like they have two guys who are just doing everything for them. It's all spread out.
So let me ask you this.
The roster.
I just thought of this when you were talking. I thought of this a few minutes ago. It's almost like the Supermax deal is almost trying to push it back to a star system versus a team system. Because you look at Golden State, who runs a team system. I mean, how are they going to afford Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. And don't forget, they got DeMarcus Cousins on that squad too.
Yeah.
They got to deal with him too. And he's still, when he's healthy, as capable a player as there is, lower than your absolute superstars, but he's not a shabby player and can command high money. How in the world is Golden State going to keep that team together? And does guys say, you know what, I played with these Warriors, I've got 3 rings, 4 rings, however many they've got, I don't know. I got my championship rings. I'm going to go just make money. Because, you have to be in the league 7 to 8 years. So you're probably not pushing toward the downside of your career at 7 to 8 years in the NBA.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go make money. So does that almost promote back to a star system where teams can pretty much only keep one Supermax player at 35%, and then just you have to fill the roster around it with players who are willing to take less money for a championship ring?
I kind of, it could in a way. I think what would maybe stop that is there's not many guys who are actually going to be eligible for this contract just because of how strict the requirements are to become eligible for one. For the most part, again, you can't, like, if you're LA, you can't just say, I want to go sign so-and-so to a Supermax contract, right? Like, you have to sign them or draft them as a rookie, keep them on your team for 6 years, which is that's a long time, and then they become eligible. So for the most part, it's not like you're really going to be able to create a team with a Supermax contract. It's more so you can help to keep the team you do already have in place or keep this star player in place. Again, it really, for the most part, it hasn't really worked. The Supermax contract has not really created a super team based off the Supermax contract. I think it's mostly designed for teams that maybe aren't the elite level market, that don't attract these elite free agents, to try to, have some type of bargaining chip with their top free agents. Say, hey, we can pay you 35% of the salary cap if you stay here. And it really,
but so can any other team. I mean, so can any other team. True. I mean, if let's say let's say Andre Davis. If Andre Davis, and there's a player that Zion Williamson's coming into that program. I mean, with Zion Williamson and Andre Davis, that program is going to become competitive real quick. And then you build, because you're not going to have to pay Zion Supermax money for his rookie contract. I mean, he'll command the biggest rookie contract, but he's not going to get Supermax money until he clears that rookie contract, because I think they have laws and regulations about what you can pay rookies. There's cap limits on paying rookies, I believe.
Yeah, well, because the rookie contract's only like 4 or 5 years, so he's going to have to complete that rookie contract.
Right,
and then
stay.
Then you're going to have to sign another contract there. And, again, is he going to take a shorter contract to try to get the Supermax, or is he going to want to go for the long-term contract? We'll see what that obviously you have to see how Zion does in the NBA before all of that. But, so you can't just complete your rookie contract and then get the Supermax. You got to sign another deal to stay there.
Yeah, and make a commitment to the city. Yeah. But let's say they offer Anthony Davis the Supermax contract, the Pelicans do. Yeah. But for every reason, if they have the space, the Knicks can come in and say, well, you know what, we can get above that. We can just flat out offer you more, because Andre Davis it's not like the NFL, which has the franchise player tag. Right? You have to stay. You have to take that contract. You have to stay on that team at least for 1 year. Correct? Wasn't that the franchise tag on the NFL?
Yeah, essentially that it would keep you.
You sign a 1 year deal at the max, at the highest level, the highest money for that position you play.
Yeah.
But it's a 1 year deal. But Supermax, Davis can turn it down and say, you know what, I can go for $5 million less a year. I can go to the Knicks, and I'll make that up and endorsement money. I'll make that up by playing in New York easily, and I'm going to go there no matter what you offer me.
Well, exactly, and that's been the whole. Now, obviously, like the Pelicans are the only team that can offer Anthony Davis a Supermax contract.
But the Knicks can't go above that. They can't just say, "I've got cap space." I mean, no. I'm going to offer more money.
No, there's the Supermax. So there's max contracts in the NBA. So the Knicks can't just say, "I want to pay you $50 million a year." There's a max contract they can pay, which is going to be smaller amount than what the Supermax contract is. Now, again, what you said, is the issue with that. When you look, let's take a market like Indianapolis and a market like New York.
Right.
The off-the-court opportunities to make money in New York are probably going to be way more significant than what it is in Indiana. He could, rack up these endorsement deals in New York to make up that lack of money than, someone in Indiana. The market is just not going to be the same size.
And I certainly bet that Anthony Davis's agent would be working with the Knicks to find to fill that gap of taking lesser money, but changing it out in terms of endorsement opportunities. So I'm sure the team, the Knicks, and Anthony Davis's agent would work that all out. And before he signed, he would probably already have those endorsements in place.
Yeah,
would be my guess. So
yeah.
So really, in the end, the Supermax contract probably does it. Really, it seems to me like it's going to hurt Golden State. Because what if Klay Thompson makes the All-Star team next year? And then what if Kevin Durant becomes eligible next year? Or Durant's not eligible for a lot of time, so.
Yeah.
But but then if Klay Thompson is, then they're going to have two players on Supermax money, which is the limit.
Well,
then can you even afford to keep Kevin Durant?
So is what you're saying if they take for that to happen, right, Klay Thompson would have to essentially, take a 1-year deal and then hope he gets on the All-NBA team. And then
right, he would have to take a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Or somebody's going to come and offer him maximum money for another team and say, you can be a star on this team. And Klay Thompson has rings.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's, again, I think most people believe Golden State will be hard-pressed to keep that team together. There's been, I think, a little bit more drama associated with that team than there has been in recent years. Especially Kevin Durant's been in the center of a lot of that. So I think most people think he's probably gone. He's been, very, very closely tied to New York in a lot of rumors. So we'll see what happens. If I had to make a prediction, I would say Durant leaves to go to New York. I think Klay Thompson would stay. I just think Klay Thompson's satisfied there. I don't think – and they can give Klay Thompson a max contract, right? I mean, Klay Thompson's worth the max contract. I know they have they're going to have a lot of money invested in guys between Draymond Green, who I believe is on a max contract. They'll have Steph Curry, who's on a Supermax contract. To be talking about giving Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant both max contracts, you're talking 4 guys on max contracts, which is obviously a ton of guys to have a max contract.
You hit your cap.
Yeah, you're really going to be hard-pressed to put a team around those guys that can compete, again, unless you can get a lot of guys who want to come there and take these huge pay cuts. But so for the most part, I think people around the league, I would predict, probably think one of those two is going to leave, and I think Kevin Durant is the most likely one to leave this summer.
Yeah, well, it certainly seems like the NBA wants the Knicks revitalized. I mean, they're tired of the Knicks being a dormant team, and that in LA or in New York's their number one market. That's where their offices are, their headquarters are. And I can't remember the last time the Knicks have been in the playoffs.
It's been a long time. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah, I don't remember when it was. I'd have to look it up and Google it, but we're wanting to showdown.
Got to be back when Carmelo Anthony was still in his prime and having good years. That may be. So I don't know. It may be 2013, maybe 2014. I'd have to.
Yeah.
To go back.
In your opinion, the takeaway here in my book is that the Supermax is probably not as detrimental as free agency is, because it's so limited in scope as to who can get that kind of money. Supermax contracts. I mean, you've got to meet a lot of criteria to get it.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's only 4. There's only 4 players that have it now, and only 4 players that are going to be eligible at this point in time right now. So at the max, you'd have would be 8 players on a Supermax contract if somebody wanted to give them that kind of money. And I don't know that some of those Kemba Walker, I don't know if he's worth super contract or Supermax money. I don't know that I'd pay that kind of money for his talents. I mean, he's a good player, but I don't see him as a game changer for a team.
And again, I think Kemba Walker is kind of similar to, I think, John Wall.
John Wall, right.
Great player, don't get me wrong, one of the best at his position. But the team hasn't gone anywhere with him. You give him a Supermax contract that's just going to make it tougher to add players around him. Is he worth it? Is Charlotte going to go anywhere with him on a Supermax contract? And I don't think so.
And that's the question I was going to ask you. You just answered it. By signing him to Supermax, is that going to make the Hornets, any better than they've already got him? I mean, they're not better. They're just paying him more money to do the same thing he's been doing. So then really the draft is pretty well controlled because they have rookie contracts based on where you're picked and things like that. So, but the big thing then becomes free agent. There's a lot of free agents out there this year in the NBA. A lot of guys that can go command, just short of Supermax money. And like I said, we talked earlier, they can make it up in endorsement deals if they go to the right place. So this seems to me like it's a target-rich environment for like a Knickerbocker team, and it's something that the Warriors have to really keep their eye on. I don't know what the Lakers situation is or what the Clippers situation is on cap money. But, I think the Lakers are fine to bring some players in. I think they've got cap space, and Golden State, I believe, is in the same boat. I think Golden State, the Clippers, traded off a lot of their big money contracts. And got rid of a lot of them and played with quality young players who just wanted to play hard and go play. And, they had moderate success with a team like that. And now they can punch in with a cap space. They can punch in a couple of superstars. All of a sudden, maybe Clippers get good really quick.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we're 55 minutes into this, and I think we've explained the Supermax contract and what it means and how it deals with the current talent situation in the NBA and where players might go or might not. It's all indications are that Anthony Davis is going to turn down the Supermax contract from the Pelicans, and he wants to go to the Knicks. That's the speculation I've heard, that it doesn't matter, that the Knicks will get close enough and he'll make it up in endorsement money. And we use that as an example.
Yeah, well, certainly.
Yeah, we'll see. It gets interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and Anthony Davis is not going to be a free agent this season, right? Like he's under contract with the team moving forward. The Pelicans have said they're not just going to ship him out for some team trying to get a bargain because Pelicans are trying to ship him out. They're going to keep him if they don't get an offer they like, and they're going to try to convince him with Zion that they can win now. Whether they're just saying that or whether that's actually what they're going to believe, you would think they want to keep Anthony Davis if he wants out and let him walk for nothing. So you would think they would look in the trade market for something that comes up. But we'll see what happens with him. Obviously, the rumor is he wants out. Did Zion getting drafted change anything? Probably not, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, and you're right. Anthony Davis becomes a free agent at the end of the 2019-2020 season, so that's next season. He becomes a free agent.
Yeah.
So maybe he gets a year and plays with Zion Williamson. They like each other. They have some success, and he all of a sudden gets happy in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right, anything else on Supermax?
I don't have anything. I think for the most part, it's obviously a big deal just with the huge amount of investment that goes into a Supermax contract and how much that hamstrings a team financially. But, for the most part, I know only a few guys have signed them. A lot of guys have turned them down because they just value winning more. They want to go to a team that they want to win at. They want to go to a team that they feel gives them a chance to win for a championship. Again, we have a couple more guys like that. Damian Lillard, who I suspect will stay in Portland after the season they had. And Kemba Walker is going to be another really interesting case. Does Charlotte give him the Supermax contract? And if they do,
that's the one to watch.
Will Kemba take it, or does he want to win? Because he said winning is the most important thing. And I think a lot of people would say, okay, I don't know if Charlotte's the best place to win at. I don't know if that's a team that's, on the up and up and is going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals next year. So Kemba Walker's an interesting case study. Does he take the money and stay, or does he go to try to win?
Yeah, and is that where Cody Zeller is? Isn't Cody Zeller in Charlotte?
Cody Zeller's in Charlotte, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to win with Cody Zeller as a center.
No.
He's not going to take on that kid from Denver who made first team All NBA. Of course, I don't think anybody in the NBA is going to take that kid on.
Charlotte has been they're a perennial 8-9 seed. You know, they're always on the outside looking in, or they barely make it into the playoffs. It's that's a team that.
And you know what you're looking at there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're looking at Jordan's ego.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Can Jordan tolerate losing? Right. That's the big thing.
Yeah, and his ego. I don't know. So, but yeah, I think Kemba's the one to watch and see, because that opens the floodgates. Then the precedent set with John Wall and Kemba Walker's like getting that kind of money. Then everybody's going to say, hey, if those clowns get it, I get it. Or I go somewhere else. So it's really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah,
well, that's the first part.
Yeah.
That's the first part of the whole thing is the Supermax money. That's the first thing they'll have to deal with. They can deal with that right now. Then we'll get into the finals, which we'll cover throughout the finals. It'll be a big part of that for us. And then we get into the draft. And then we get into what NASCAR and racing calls silly season, and that's free agency. And I think that's where it gets really expensive, because a lot of players are eligible. And I think a lot of teams are going to sit on the Supermax offer till they see what's available free agency-wise, and if it's worth it to pay Kemba Walker that kind of money, or say, you know what, I can go get a Klay Thompson who wants to come here and play, who's a proven winner. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and certainly if Kemba certainly if Kemba turns it down, that'll just make free agency all the more interesting, because that's a star player who I think there's a few teams, they add a Kemba Walker player, you're talking about them as an NBA Finals contender probably. So
yeah. Well, we will see. And on a note, we did find out that Kevin Durant is traveling with the Warriors to Toronto. So my last question to you is, does that signal a possibility of seeing him in Game 2? Because they only said that he will not play Game 1, but they made no mention of Game 2. They didn't say he's out indefinitely. They said he won't play in Game 1. So are we conspiracy theorying again when we say, look at this, it said only Game 1, or just mentioned Game 1, and all of a sudden he's on the team plane going with the team to Toronto, which generally he wouldn't do if he was injured, if he knew he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, well, he didn't travel with the team to Portland in the previous series when they went there for Games 3 and 4. So certainly logic would indicate that, okay, they think there's a chance he'll play.
Right.
Again, the conspiracy theorist aspect of it would be, are they just trying to make Toronto prepare for Kevin Durant and spend time game planning for him, even if he's not going to play? Again, for the most part, we've always been under the assumption he's going to come back at some point in this series. I don't think many people expect him to miss the entire series, I guess, unless, Golden State sweeps them and Durant can't get healthy by that point. But I think most people think he'll be healthy by some point. I think him traveling indicates that could be as early as Game 2. It's certainly, I think, an option. I would think if they didn't think he was ready, they would have just wanted him to stay in Golden State, get
therapy and get healthy.
Get all that. I don't know if they would really, because to me, Golden State's a team that's so good, I don't think they would need the gimmicks of, okay, we're going to bring Golden State to make them prepare for him. They're obviously the heavy favorite in the series. I think, for the most part, people will be shocked if Toronto won the series. So I don't think Golden State would really be interested in all these gimmicks of, okay, let's bring them and make them prepare for Kevin Durant, even though we know he won't play. I think it's certainly a chance he'll play and sit up in Game 2. Yeah.
Agreed. Well, we will find out this weekend, won't we? We won't see, we'll see the thing starts tomorrow. And we've got a topic tomorrow. We're going to talk about all the college players who declared for the draft, went and got evaluated. And I want to talk to you tomorrow about whether that's a good thing, because there's been rift on both sides about players not being loyal to the colleges and then coming back. But let's have a discussion tomorrow. We'll try and figure out who the players were, prominent players who stepped out of the draft and decided to stay in college one more year, and the players that went. We'll have that all for you tomorrow. And then we'll broach the subject as to whether it's fair for them to go ahead and take that shot and get evaluated by NBA talent or coaches so they can come back and say, here's where you want to improve if you want to play in this league. And we'll have that discussion tomorrow. How's that?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, with that, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our sponsor, mybookie.ag, who, again, continues to offer the special to you if you go to our website and go to click the link on their banner, type in the code TGTN, the Grueling Truth Network, yes, TGTN, and they will match you $300 on the first $300 you invest into their program. Set up an account through the Grueling Truth Net website. You get that $300 added on, gives you $600 to bet, and you can just go make a lot of money off of our genius in the NBA. Really, if you want to make money, follow the Sheridan Report, our sister program on the gruelingtruth.net with Bobby Sheridan, who lays the odds down, gives you great insight as to why he believes it, and is right many more times than he's wrong. So if you go follow Bobby, you're probably going to turn that $300 into a new pair of shoes for your wife. Or if you're a female, you're going to turn it into a new tractor or lawnmower for your husband. Father's Day is coming up. Go to mybookie.ag, invest $300, go have some fun. They'll treat you fair, and you'll enjoy it. And go to the Sheridan Report on our station, thegruelingtruth.com, and find the Sheridan Report, and Bobby will tell you how to spend your money, and he's good at doing that. With that, Cole, thank you very much. Great insight into the Supermax contracts. And we'll be back tomorrow at our normal time, I think, and we will be talking a little bit of college basketball and players that came back and what the implications are for that, how it changes the preseason polls, which I think are a bunch of crap anyway, and what that means to teams and who it helped and the players that were lost and how that hurt those teams. Right, Cole?
Yep. Sounds
there
good.
You go. With that, we thank you very much for taking a listen to us today and sticking with us. And for Survive in Advance, I am Steve Risley, along with my co-host, Cole Hanna. Where can you find us? You can find us on thegruelingtruth.net or .com. You can find us on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, YouTube, the Grueling Truth Radio Network, which we have now. We have our own radio network now, actually, where you can get podcasts played back. You can go to, we have an apps page. The gruelingtruth.net has an apps page. You can pull our podcasts right up there and play them in your car when you're listening at home. Basically, anywhere that sports podcasts are broadcast out, you can find the gruelingtruth.net. You can find Survive in Advance. You can find the Sheridan Report. You can find Inside Boxing Weekly. We have a host of shows that cover virtually every sport. Take a listen. We got great talent doing everything. We appreciate your business. And, Cole, thank you for a great insight, and we will talk to everybody tomorrow. So for everybody, for Cole Hanna, myself, and for a lost Mike Goodpasser, who, I think he went hiking in Hawaii. I think that's where he's at. And he's on some trail. It's going to take 3 weeks to find him, like that girl that they found hiking. And remember, you see about that? They found some girl who left her car keys and her cell phone in her car and then went hiking on some island in Hawaii and got lost. Spent 3 weeks. Lost it. You go find a trail and just walk a trail. You'll eventually run into somebody or something. But anyway, that's another story. I think that's where Mike is. I don't know. We'll find out at some point. So for everybody, thank you very much. I'm signing off. Have a good day, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.